Well, hello, investors and traders. I'm LA Little, and this is your daily NeoTA wrap, where we take a look at these markets and we do it from a neoclassical perspective. Each time we're asking ourselves what happened today, and what does it tell us about the coming days. We do the show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube. It's under the channel LA Little. If you take a look at what we're doing here and you're interested, then pop over, hit the Get Started button. There's a lot more details than what you see here on a nightly basis. They've got all of these features, these capabilities that are in your plate, right? For 19 or 175 a year, 50 cents a day, all these tools, folks. Whether you're day trade, whether you're swing trade, whether you're a long-term investor, all those things are available to you. A self-management advisory service, long-term investor. You can't beat the prices, and you certainly can't beat the service and the quality of what you get. As far as what happened today, let's take a look at it. We had Europe push up. Draghi came out and said, basically, we're going to give you more money in March, and they kind of like that. Now, it was curious to me that you didn't see the euro move that much. We'll look at that chart. But they did get a bump out of it, and you look at those charts, they look like they can go higher overnight. If we look to the east, the Nikkei, the Hong Kong markets up this evening, probably playing more catch-up than anything. We did not see them trade much higher over the last few days when our market, or last day when our market moved, so they're really trying to catch up with us. As far as our markets, last night we were talking about they should try to push up today. They did. You didn't get much out of it, though. The NASDAQ was basically break even. The S&P, the Dow up more, and the Russell was actually negative on the day. The large cap technology stocks, 2 of the 3 couldn't move. If you look over at the financials could not get a bounce. And all of this happened with oil going up today, $5, but OIL was down 17% today. I want to talk about that here in a few minutes and show you, or at least explain, why the decoupling. Gold, silver didn't do anything. Bonds were down. So that's pretty much the snapshot. Let's take a look at the charts. And I actually want to start with that oil market. The USO has been in sync with oil. So as oil has been going down, right, the USO has been going down with it. So you haven't had any strangeness here compared to the oil market. Today, oil was up about 5%. This jumped about 4%. So the same sort of action here as you would expect. But if you look over in OIL, it's totally a different story. Over there, you had a total decoupling, and today, this thing got hit, and it got hit hard. And it was because the net asset value of this ETN was way at a premium, right? As oil had continued down, this did not. And I suspect anybody that was in this thought, wow, this is great, right? This goes down, then oil goes down, and this goes kind of up. And then today it just gets hammered, and it's probably going to get hammered again tomorrow, because the net asset value, the value in the fund, right, was at a huge premium to what it was worth. And today they started taking that premium out of this thing. These ETNs, they can be very dangerous if you really don't watch what they're doing. And when they decouple from the underlying commodity in this case, sometimes that can lead to these huge moves against you. And it really was awkward today because oil was up and this thing got hammered. So if you don't know what it means for net asset value, be careful with the ETFs and the ETNs, because they can be skewed and be decoupled from their underlying and really get you in a pickle if you're not careful. Let's look over at emerging markets and kind of go around the horn here. So you'd got a bounce yesterday, under back over a little bit more. It came into the top today. That looks like that's going to try to turn around and head back the other way. I'm going to scoop back over now to the general markets, and we'll start over in Germany. So the Draghi comes out, says, we're not going to do anything right now, but pretty much in March we are going to do something. We're going to need to do something, and we have plenty of tools in our little toolbox. get a nice big push up. If you look at this, right, there's nothing in the way now for this thing, to stop it, other than these bars right up in this area. So about 98.14, I wouldn't be surprised to see it push up into that area and then probably settle down and come back down again. If we look at the CACs over in France, you've got the same setup. This thing can push higher too. Exact same scenario. I was glancing at our friends up north in Toronto, and they got their bounce today as well. But this market has been just devastated, right? And of course it's commodity based and it's oil based, and I'm sure that's a big part of it. But maybe something else is going on too. The fact that they finished off their ABCD structures on the way down says that they can bounce, which is what they're doing. So you get a bounce out of this thing, but we're on a monthly chart. We're back into 2011, 2012 numbers, almost at those lows. That's in stark contrast to like our markets. And it wasn't as if they didn't make new highs. They did. But you went from 15,500 down to 11,500 almost. So you chopped off 4,000 points off this thing. So in other words, about 25%. And this isn't some emerging market with wild swings. This is a fairly stable, large market. And, to a great extent, a lot of what happens here in the U.S. goes there. So, I'm not sure what to make of it other than the fact that something's definitely wrong. Does it somehow extend beyond the commodity aspect of this? I'm not sure, but it was just something I noted and thought I'd pass on tonight as far as the way this thing looks. If we look overseas in Asia, Hong Kong, new lows, when you break multiple swing points, which is what they did back at this level, right, you can expect 2 to 3 bars to the downside on the longest time frame. So the break, here's your 2 bars, right? I would expect 2 to 3 bars, so you may get another one before you get some sort of a bounce out of it. So you can get devastation when it's on the weekly or when it's on the monthly. And when you see this move, right, here's that break back at 29, or what is it, 25.30. So you get the break. Here's the second one at the 19.934, and this one here is the one that we saw on the weekly. That moved down, right? That's another 2,000 points. That's another 10% straight away. Now, yeah, we just did 10% too, but they're coming from a taller base. I mean, they were already down 6, 7 before they got the last 10. So the point is when you get those kinds of breaks, you can get big moves, which actually brings me to the next point, and that is our markets. Now, I'm going to flip straight over to the monthly chart. Now, this monthly chart is trying to test into this October 2014 low. It did test into it, got the bounce out of there. We talked about that last night. Now, what it has, though, is a swing point at this level, a swing point at the weekly level, and we've already broken swing points at the daily level. So in other words, come next week, if this thing can't lift, especially if it breaks not this week, but next week on this swing point low and takes out the monthly swing point low, then you'd have breaks on long-term time frame and the weekly time frame, multiple swing point breaks, multiple time frames. That can go 2 to 3 bars on the longest time frame, escalated move, which is the monthly. Folks, this could get a big drop, and that's what I wanted to point out. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I am saying the setup is there. And if the setup's there, you need to be aware of it. And so take that for what it's worth, and be aware of what sits in front of us here. Now, pulling back into the daily time frame, let's look at here. You got the big bar, big volume. That says it can get tested, right? So we got volume down there, and it says it can get tested at this point. And so that bar potentially has a test to come. Now, what we did today is we went over back under less volume. What does that say? Well, that says that it's going to try to come back down tomorrow. So the real key tomorrow is how far does it come down, right? Because if this does start to escalate back down to the back side of this thing, and you end up down here in some level, maybe as far as the key level right now is this level to hold. But if you get under that and stay under that, and you start eating into about half of this bar, well, you're going to have a good shot to go back and test that big low down there again. Tomorrow's Friday. There was nervous traders in the long positions today. They will be nervous again tomorrow. So it's going to be hard to keep this thing up high tomorrow. And so this is going to be a big test tomorrow as to what this market is made of. In other words, do you have people who are willing to sell, right, at lower and lower prices? And if they are, that's not a good scenario, even with the market as stretched as this one is already. And so tomorrow is going to be a big day in these markets. And to a large extent, it probably is going to make or break what happens next week. And next week, of course, is going to make or break probably what happens to the first 2 or 3 months of this year. So that, to me, is how important tomorrow is. I could go on, but I think I've given you the gist. I've certainly given you enough meat to chew on here. Again, if you're interested in what I do, you really should check us out. You can't get this kind of advice, this kind of tools, right? The tool set that's available to you here is unlike anything anywhere else. All of these tools, you can flip through them all. They're all detailed here. Just come over and pop into our tools by clicking on the Choose Tool button. You can see what I'm talking about. Folks, be safe. Think about where you're at in the big cycle here and have a plan. You may need it. Until next time, take care. Good night.